Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing well this week. My name is Victoria and my group members are Amy, Emily, and Jamie. Today we're going to take you through what we learned from our interviewee Jane. We're also going to talk about why it's important to serve in this ministry specifically and identify some of the strengths and challenges that come with working with exceptional children. Before we dive in any further, we wanted to share this verse of encouragement with you guys, which states, "Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly, defend the rights of the poor and needy." So we encourage you guys to think about how this verse might apply in your life when working with this kind of population. But for right now, I'm going to hand the virtual mic over to Amy. Feel free to sit back, relax, have a snack, but...
So for our church, we chose All Nations Church. It is a church located in Lakeview Terrace, and it is a Baptist denomination. And we were able to connect with a sister named Jane. She is the mother of a child with autism, and she's also a teacher, more specifically in art education. And she was able to share with us about a ministry that this church offers for exceptional children. This ministry name is Green Meadows, and it is basically a service for exceptional children. So the service was held every Sunday from about 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. in a separate room, and there was about 20 different teachers and volunteers that were involved in this ministry. The individuals with disabilities range from children in kindergarten all the way to adults in their 20s and 30s. And what's really amazing about this ministry was that each individual with a disability was able to have more of a one-on-one aid to help them throughout the service. And the structure of the service is held similar to any service you would go to, but it's just that during worship time it will be focused more on singing and dancing together. After they heard a sermon, more of a children type of sermon, the teachers and TAs would pair up one by one with each child with a disability or each adult with a disability, and they would alter the lesson they heard from the sermon to cater to and match the individual with the disability, which is something that's really awesome. And then after they shared a meal together, the last person was more active. They did arts and crafts together, and they played games together. And depending on the season, they did different outdoor activities such as swimming, horseback riding, bowling, and skating. And we asked her the question of why do you think it's so important for churches to provide support programs that are catered for exceptional children? And she was sharing, as the special needs community is growing, so should the focus. And then because children with disabilities already experience so much difficulties and they experience already so much neglect, it's so important that they actually receive the one-on-one attention and care. And even going back to Mary's story, that one-on-one attention and care that her son received, it was really, really helpful and beneficial. And she was sharing how basically the church should be making an effort to help individuals with disabilities as well.
So one of the main sources that the church utilized to facilitate their own special needs program was Joni and Friends, and Joni and Friends is an organization founded by a woman named Joni Eareckson Tada. Some of you guys might be familiar by her name because in her testimony she shares about how she became paralyzed due to a tragic accident that happened to her when she was 17. Long story short, she started this organization called Joni and Friends, which shares the gospel and mobilizes the global church to evangelize, disciple, and serve people living with a disability.
So for the strengths in the Green Meadows ministry, in total, there was about 20 teachers volunteering for this specific ministry. So there was actually enough teachers for every student to have their own aide, which was really nice. And this program was very hands-on and very flexible, so it kind of looked different every Sunday. They had the freedom to take trips, where they went to like the park, they took a trip to Santa Barbara, they did a whole bunch of different outings, and she explained it to be very warm and loving, kind of similar to a family sense, and translations were provided to those who needed them. Some challenges that they had were certain behavioral problems. So when working with people who have certain disabilities, they tend to have temper tantrums or meltdowns, and so that was kind of an issue within the Green Meadows ministry. Some students wouldn't really understand the lessons, and that they only had access to one classroom, which was kind of like limiting. And another thing was that children and adults were mixed. So you had students from kindergarten age to people in their 30s. So it was very diverse in that sense. And another challenge was that certain volunteers, whoever wanted to volunteer their time, they did not receive any form of training. And so she explained that some improvements that could have been made is that they could have involved the community a lot more. They could have done more outings with their students and their families, and they could have had more educational opportunities. So she recommended like them going to a museum or going to certain things that would provide the students with more educational impact. And she also believed that it would be good for the students to have more integration with the public, so they could, like get in touch with their community more, find friends on their own, and just be more integrated with people who did not just go to the Green Meadows ministry.
Thank you, Emily, for sharing that. So one of the last questions that we asked Jane was, how can we encourage other people who are hesitant to work with kids with special needs? One of the first things that she brought up was the idea that regardless of disability, we are all human. And I found that super compelling because deep down inside, every single one of us has a heart to learn and to grow. And with these children specifically, they can teach us to appreciate the littlest things and how much they matter. Despite the difficulties, we should consider the impact that we're making in the end. By providing these kids with that special attention, we're showing them that we care, and this can make them feel really happy. We can make such a significant difference in their life by giving them a sense of belonging and making them feel appreciated. And I don't know about you, but that, to me, that's super rewarding in itself.
Hi, my name is Jamie. I'm going to be going over the interventions part for our group. Some of the ideas that I came up with were having a separate room for children with disabilities, and they would have involvement from volunteers, but also from professionals who are educated and basically knowledgeable when it comes to the best ways to benefit and support these children with disabilities. And I also think it would be great as a church, like the families came together and they threw events for children and allowed them to connect with the other students while also supporting and acknowledging their importance to the church. And they could throw events like talent shows, dance-offs, etc., just anything to help them feel involved and supported. And I think other things that the church can do is go to local community centers and support children with exceptional disabilities, where they could show up and watch their art shows or go to their events. And it's an outside church event where the church is still coming together and supporting. And I also wanted to add, when these children come together in their groups with the professionals who know how to work with them, they could also incorporate like worship, and they can help them learn to come together, connect and relate and talk about their struggles and be able to turn to God and pray for one another. And and I think those are some ideas that would be really useful in the church. And thank you for listening to our presentation, and that's all.